Well, all the ingredients are here, aren't they? A very much informed lower league team.
Is this the chance? It is the chance, and it's the goal that they craved.
And scored too! David Bale puts his name up in lights and Wembley.
Which has been in chaos off the pitch, is in harmony on it.
Hello and welcome to Inside the Change Room. Today we're joined by a man who started his youth career at Middlesbrough. He went on to play for Spennymoor, Whitley Town, Scarborough and York before he joined Barnet in 2007. He went on to join Notts County where he won promotion in his first season. He then went on to Blackpool and Scunthorpe. He then joined Mansfield where he was his last club. We are joined today by Neal Bishop. Neal, thank you ever so much for coming on, mate.
No problem, mate. No, it's a pleasure.
Joined as ever by Jacob as well. Jacob, we've done a little bit of research at the start, and you won't be happy that Neal scored against your side to make the Neal. Jacob's an Oxford fan, so you wouldn't have made him very happy scoring that winning goal.
That was a long time ago.
It was, mate. Yeah. Well, talking about going back. It all started at Middlesbrough for you, didn't it? That's where you first kind of broke into football. What made you get in? What made you get into football?
Obviously, my dad was a big fan. He played a bit. I think he played a couple of times for Sheffield United reserves back in the day. And obviously, being a Stockton lad on Teesside, we grew up supporting Middlesbrough and played local football, Stockton West Ends, and then obviously, as it was back then, it was School of Excellences. It wasn't the academy system what it is now, and just got invited down to train, signed a deal. And like I said, I was there till I was 16. Obviously, Middlesbrough being my club, it was a dream, dream growing up to go up and play for your hometown club, which obviously I never did, but it was enjoyable and something I'd always dreamed of to play for Middlesbrough. But like I said, it never happened. But I was there probably 5-6 years as a kid, and like I say, the experiences and coaching I got was invaluable, and it's probably stood me in good stead for my career.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you were released by Middlesbrough. You went down to a local side, Billingham Town, where I think research suggests that you ended up appearing in one game alongside your brother and your dad. I bet that was a bit of a surreal moment for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, when I left Middlesbrough, obviously I was 16. It's a difficult age, and I was distraught, to be honest. Obviously, they were my hometown club and the team I could always envisage myself playing for. So when that happened, I wouldn't say I fell off the rails. I just didn't fancy playing football for anyone. So it was probably a year, 18 months where I just didn't bother. Not even. I had a chance to go to Darlington, as you do. Obviously, Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Sunderland are the big clubs up there. If you get released from them, then they tend to take you into Hartlepool or Darlington. And I had a chance to go to both of them clubs, and I just wasn't interested. Not at all. Like I say, it knocked me hard, and then I literally started back up playing just with my mates five-a-side, soccer sensei or goals, whatever it is now. Got literally Sunday morning pub football, just back with my mates, and then started back up on a Saturday. And yeah, Billingham Town were good to me, and I think it was a midweek game. That game. A place called Towler, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's got its own climate. It's a strange old place. And then, like I say, I think we were just short of players for work commitments. Obviously, a lot of the boys work. And my dad being a player, decided to step in, and my younger brother as well. So we all travelled up there and got a call off the manager. And my dad said, yeah, borrowed a pair of boots. I think we managed to get a draw as well. I think we got out there with a 1-1, 2-2. But it's an experience. And there's a picture of my dad's house, actually, of all three of us after the game. So yeah, it's one to tell my boy about in the future, that's for sure.
I mean, yeah, you like you said about kind of going back, and you weren't too fussed about taking it seriously. I mean, you then took the choice to move on to Gateshead, where obviously Gateshead, people know that they're a pretty big football club. At what stage then, after you then left Billingham Town and went to Gateshead, at what stage did you think, actually, you know what, I don't want to just kind of play with mates. Let's kind of take it a little bit more seriously now.
Yeah, well, it was Gary Gill, and he was obviously an ex-Middlesbrough player, the manager at the time, and someone I'd watched growing up. and obviously respected. He met me, took me up there. And like I say, I really enjoyed it there. Obviously, it ended quite quickly. I think they had money troubles and Gary left, and it was a bit all up in the air. But even at that point, I was still turning out on a Sunday morning. Because I just loved it. I loved playing the Rosewood Social Club. It was, and it was proper pub football. I mean, but we had some really good players. I mean, at the time though, it was a big thing. The Sunday League up there was still a big thing, and all the best non-league players basically played for the Rosewood, for the Blythe, and so it was really good. And like I say, we used to go back in the Rosewood Social Club at the end on the Sunday afternoon. Proper old man's working social club. They used to get in there. It used to be beer tokens on the door. They used to, you might not believe this, but they still used to have strippers on stage. They used to have a comedian on once a month on a Sunday afternoon. I was proper old school Sunday club, but it was brilliant. I loved it. So I just, even when I went there to Spennymoor and that, I just played until I went full time at Scarborough. I was still playing on Sunday morning. Just like I say, because it's weird, but that's how I sort of got my enjoyment back and the love for the game. Just playing with my mates and really enjoying it again. Just right back to basics.
I mean, like you said, you went professional and you started taking it seriously with Scarborough. But like just before then as well, you played for both Spennymoor and Whitby Town. Just sum up sort of that time in your career as well, and whether you thought at the time that you could make it like into a real professional living.
Again, I probably at Spennymoor not so much. I mean, I think we won the Unibond League. What was the Unibond League? I'm not sure what guys it's in now. And that was good. Jamie Pollock, again, an ex-Middlesbrough footballer, was manager. Nicky Moine, ex-Middlesbrough player, played. And we had some really good players, and we got promoted from that league. Whitby, obviously, Whitby was again another move up, and I was really enjoying it. There was rumours of people coming down. I think a couple of Scottish clubs were coming down to watch me, but I never really took it too much seriously until I actually, there's actually someone calls you up and says there's an offer on the table. And like I say, the first time someone did that was Scarborough, and that basically forced me to sit and have a think about it, to be honest, because although it was only the conference, it was full time, and at the time I had a job. It was only for a double glazing company, Winderfit, but it was a decent wage, and I was picking up good money playing part time. I just got my first house, so it was a big decision. So financially, I'd have been losing out, but after missing out on Middlesbrough as a kid, I just thought it's going to have to be somewhere I'm going to have to just at least try and see. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. At least I know I've gave it a go, and I can look at myself in the mirror, and I'll be able to put it in the bed. But I think if I didn't take that chance, it'd have always been in the back of my mind. So, like I say, I gave it a go, and unfortunately, it worked out for me.
Yeah, like you said, Neil, you signed for Scarborough full time in March 2005. Obviously, there wasn't too long until the end of the season, but the following season, you were made captain. I mean, at a young age, how was that kind of responsibility for you? Being captain of a full-time football club, obviously not being a full-time for that long at that point.
Yeah, it was a strange one because there was obviously a lot of players in the dressing room were older than me, but the gaffer just said, "Look, the way you play, the way you are as a person, I think you're the right choice." I think he made a lad called Steve Baker, a good friend of mine. He was club captain. He, again, an ex-Middlesbrough Premier League club captain. So to get obviously captain the team was a massive honour. But from day one, I thought, well, he gave it to me for a reason, so there's no real point in me changing the way I was. I didn't really change anything, do anything differently. Obviously, I enjoyed being captain. It was a massive honour, but I just thought he's gave me it for the way I am, so there's no point in changing and doing anything different. But yeah, it was a big honour, and like I say, what I thoroughly didn't expect. But again, I think I really enjoyed it. And like I say, it was a great thing. Probably one of my first big achievements in the game.
I mean, then January 2006 rolls around. You signed for York City. How did that move come about?
Well, again, I knew they were interested in Scarborough having financial difficulties, and I just got a phone call saying early January saying, "Would you be interested?" Obviously, York were a bigger club. I'd got to that point, like I say, going full time. I was going to give it my all, and I know it sounds not very loyal, but I wanted to kick on. You know what I mean? I wanted to get York were in the playoffs, I think, or around about that area. They were much higher position than Scarborough anyway, and I just wanted to go. They were a big club, obviously a former league club as Scarborough were, but the fan base and everything. I just thought it was a progression. Like I said, there'd been interest from from a couple of league clubs at the time. But again, nothing formal. And so, but it dragged on, and I think it was only the last couple of days of January it got completed. But it was a move I wanted to make, and again, fortunately for me, one that worked out.
Yeah, just talking of the playoffs, you actually scored the winning goal against my club Oxford to make the playoffs. But unfortunately, you ended up losing to Morecambe. There's also like the Clubman of the Year. Sum up sort of that season, and as a young player, what were your emotions around the playoffs at that time as well?
Yeah, it was obviously fantastic. I thought we had a really good team. The likes of Clayton Donaldson, Andy Bishop, and David McGurk. There was a lot of lads in that team who went on to play Football League. So we had a really good team. Darren Craddock, Hartlepool, really good team, really good professionals. Billy McEwen was a manager I thought was really good. Actually, I really enjoyed working under him. He was firm, he was strict, but really enjoyed it. And to miss out against Morecambe, obviously, well, we'll go on to that. But I've never had much luck in the playoffs through my career. But it was disappointing. It was massively disappointing. I think we got a draw there in the first leg. I mean, it's that long ago. I've probably blocked it from my memory, but it was disappointing because we thought we had the momentum going into it, and we all were confident of getting to Wembley at the very minimum. But it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Yeah, as well. I mean, you'd just before signing for Barnet in 2007, after making that playoff final, you turned down a new contract from York. Was the interest from Barnet something you'd known about for a while before making the move?
Yeah, well, the manager was manager of the England C team, which is the England non-league team.
Paul Fairclough, isn't it?
Yeah, Paul Fairclough, and I went to play for England in that summer, and he mentioned it. Would I be interested? I'd heard again a few whispers, and obviously, yeah, I was, because again, it was another step up. If we'd have got to the Football League with York, I'd have probably stayed there, probably 90% certain I'd have stayed there, but we didn't. And again, because of getting into the Football League, or getting into professional football, should I say, so late, I was in a rush to make up time and try and get up the leagues as quickly as I could. And that was just an opportunity, again, I couldn't turn down. Financially, it wasn't a financial move because I wasn't really any better off. I was relocating to obviously an expensive part of the world down there. I went to Potter's Bar, stayed there, but it was a move. Like I say, it was just the way I looked at it. They were in the Football League, and I wasn't with York, so it was a move I wanted to make. Yeah.
Let's just talk about that game against Morecambe for a second. Would you say that game, seeing as you lost, had an impact on whether you're going to stay at York as a whole? And also, what were your emotions, sort of, in your viewpoint, actually during that game as well?
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think if we'd have gotten to Wembley and I think Morecambe got promoted that year. I don't know if they played in the final, but they went on and got promoted. Obviously, first chance I've missed out on Wembley. I was just, obviously, during the game, it was great. I remember there was a full house there. The atmosphere was fantastic. And like I say, we were all confident going into the game. It didn't work out. And again, it probably knocked me for six. And probably the only thing that stopped me from getting really down and depressed about it was this. I had this tournament, the Four Nations tournament, Scotland, Wales, England, and Ireland, that was going on in the summer. And so I got straight into that and had a good. I played every game in that, apart from the Scotland game. We won that. And then Paul Fairclough, obviously, before I went, mentioned it, that they're definitely making me an offer. And again, so that was the boost that I needed to probably get over that Morecambe game.
And you mentioned a second ago as well, you having to relocate from the north and moving to London for the first time. Looking back, how easy of a transition was that for you as a young player?
It was quite difficult, to be honest. Like I said, I've never been away from home before. York, there was always a good northeast car school. I used to commute down. So when I was got to York, I was getting to the weekend, and I was still coming home after a home game. I'd drive all the way back up, and I wouldn't get home till about 9 o'clock, 9:30, and then
wow,
it'd probably be about 2 hours. Yeah, I was just, like I say, I struggled, to be honest, with being away from home, being away from friends and family. I was down there on my own, and then I'd just travel back late on a Sunday night for training Monday, because obviously it'd have been too much of a gamble to travel on the Monday morning with traffic and stuff. So it was probably less than 24 hours at home, but you know, it was a transition which I found quite hard, to be honest. But you know, it was just something I thought I had to do if I'm going to progress my career. And like I say, eventually the homesickness stopped, and you know, I was getting home less and less frequently. people were coming down. I eventually got myself my own, rented a place down there, so people were coming down to see me. And I'd say it probably took a good 6-7 months for me to feel really settled down there. And like I said, the commute home is not one that you can keep doing, because it's probably 3.5, 4 hours from there on a Saturday night. But like I say, it was just all the transition of being away from home for the first time.
Yeah, and like you say about obviously moving away from home into the Football League with Barnet, how would you kind of sum up that first season with Barnet being away from home but being in the Football League?
Yeah, I mean, it was a new experience, and like I say, the crowds are bigger, the teams are bigger. I really loved it, to be honest. I think I wanted to play 3-4 times a week, because the only time I was really homesick is when I left the training ground, got back, I was on my own. I was sort of bordering with someone. I just had basically a bedroom to myself. So that's when the homesickness kicked in. When I was at the training ground and playing games, I absolutely loved it. It was just the times away from the training ground that I found really difficult, and away from match days. But that soon passed. Like I say, it's all part of growing as a person. And once I get used to it, I really enjoyed it. And like I said, it was a new challenge. The older I've got, I love a challenge, and that was the moving in the homes. That was all just part of it. And like I say, it eased after a while. And like I say, I thoroughly, again, you learn every day, and I learned a lot from that first season of Barnet, definitely.
I mean, yeah, during your time at Barnet, Neil, it was quite an interesting one, wasn't it? Was that you handed in a transfer request, then you were asked to be taken off the transfer list, then you were made captain. So it was kind of a whirlwind of bit of emotions for you during your time. But like you say, was that kind of all part of the experience, and you ended up taking those experiences to help you further on in your career? Yeah,
like I said, I was probably a bit impetuous with the transfer request again. There was people sniffing around from League One, and again, like I said, I think it wasn't. It was just because I'd got into football so late, and I felt I was making up time all the time, and I thought, okay, your career only lasts so long. I thought, if there's an opportunity for me again to go to the next level, I want to take it. So I thought, no, I'm going to push this through, and they wouldn't let me go. I was probably wrong looking back. I was probably young, and I wanted to crack on and get up there. Like I say, if I'd got into football 19, 20 and played a lot of league games, maybe my mindset would have been different. But I always felt I was against the clock, and maybe I had a bit of chip on my shoulder that I hadn't played any league games before then, and I was desperate to prove people wrong, desperate to get them through the leagues. But like I say, in hindsight, I was probably wrong, because everyone was really good to me down at Barnet. And I was glad I stayed for an extra season. Like I said, I was made captain. And like I say, it's a club which taught me a lot going forward. Yeah, because Neil, obviously, a lot of people kind of at that time would have seen it as that you like, oh, he's handed in transfer request, he's kind of throwing his toys out the pram, he don't want to be here, whatever. But at the same time, a lot of footballers, like, there is absolutely no reason why a footballer should not be denied the chance of playing at the highest level, if possible. And I think it goes back to, like, the perfect example here would be like Jamie Vardy. Obviously, Jamie got into football very, very late, but he didn't stay at clubs too long, because he just wanted to play at the highest possible level. And there's nothing wrong with that, is there? No, I don't think so. Look, I've been around long enough, and I've seen it at clubs at a time. If a club doesn't want you, and I mean, I've been fortunate enough through my career, it's not really happened, to be honest. I've either left at the end of the season, at the end of the contracts. Yeah. I've seen managers come in and they don't want players, and they'll make them train with the kids, they'll make them come in on an afternoon when the rest of the first team's gone. So loyalty is a two-way street. You can ask it of player. I know supporters. I'm a supporter. I watch Middlesbrough. I think he doesn't want to be, man. There's always two sides to a story. And seeing from players who I've seen what certain clubs do to players to try and get them out the door. And it's a short career. It's a very short career. I'm 38 now, and it's gone like that. Honestly, it's so short. So I don't think there's wrong with ambition. I really don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as it's done in the right way. Like I say, I probably didn't do it the right way then. But like I say, I thought I had time to make up, and so that was basically my excuse for that. But no, look, there's nothing wrong with ambition, and if it's done right and for the right reasons, I think it's a good quality for people to have, that they want to better themselves, they want to get on. And it's the same in any career. If you want to progress and kick on, that's usually a quality that people like to see.
I mean, yeah, looking at the beginning of that 2008-2009 season, the team had a fairly difficult start to the season. I mean, I was just reading a run of 13 games without a win, which resulted in manager Paul Fairclough resigning. What was sort of your reaction to the news of his resignation at the time, and sort of what was the atmosphere actually inside the dressing room like at the time?
Obviously, I was disappointed because he was the one who took me to the football club, and I had a fairly good relationship with him. But I mean, 13 games without a win. When the news broke, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was expected, but it certainly wasn't a shock because obviously on that type of run, you're probably just waiting. You're just waiting to hear that news. And it was a disappointing start. I think obviously Barnet didn't have a great budget in League Two. Surviving in League Two was always going to be their aim. But obviously the way we started, it wasn't much of a shock. Obviously Ian Hendon eventually took over, and again he didn't have the best of times. But as a guy and as a former professional, I had nothing but respect for Endo because, like I say, in difficult circumstances, we didn't go down, and that was a big achievement that season.
Yeah, I mean, Ian Hendon comes in. He's given eventually the permanent role as manager at the end of the season after he sort of turned the tide a bit and the results started improving. Obviously, like you said, you ended up staying up. What was it about him and his management, do you think, that allowed you to sort of turn the tide and make that change and gain safety in the league?
Yeah, I think it was just a fresh voice. Obviously, he'd been there as a system, but you can only have so much input. Obviously, Paul had been at Fairclough, had been around a long time. And maybe maybe if you're around too long, your message stops getting through. You know, people are hearing the same voice every day. So it was just a fresh face in charge. Lee Harrison helped him out, the goalkeeper, number 2. And like I say, Barnet's probably the level of their ambition, and there's nothing wrong with it because of the wage budget and size of the club was just surviving in the Football League, which we managed to do. And obviously, they fell into the non-league after that. But that was probably the limit of their ambition that season, and we managed to survive.
Yeah, I mean, you managed to survive, and you were offered a new contract at Barnet, but you opted to move to Notts County. What was it sort of that attracted you to the club? Was it the size of the club, or was there any other factors?
Yeah, obviously the history of Notts County, the size of the club, the stadium. It was a lot closer to home for me. I remember they'd come at our place and beat us 3-0. And I was coming off the pitch at the end, absolutely raging. And Tommy Johnson, the old Newcastle Celtic striker, was a coach there, and he was waiting for me in the dressing room. He just said, "We really love you, Bish. Do you fancy it?" I went, "Yeah, Tom, well, obviously," and that was it. And then so I knew after that that they were interested in it at the end of that season. I met Charlie McPartland, and had really good discussions with him about how the club wanted to go forward. And like I said, the size of the club, I was a lot closer to home. It was just, again, I seen it as a career progression. I know they're in the same league and they had a disappointing season the year before. But the way they were talking, they were going to get some good players on board and I'm going to have a right go that season. So I was well up for going there. Yeah,
it sounds like you knew for quite a while, obviously, that they were after you. Would you say it was an easy decision to move to the club?
Yeah, fairly easy. Again, I had a couple of other interested parties, but that was the one that stuck out most for me, yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, you had an exceptional first season with the club, winning the League Two title. When you look back at a successful season, a lot of people that we've interviewed have said they can identify like a turning point where they can see like it's a special group of players that can go and achieve big things. What would you say your turning point would be that season?
I'm not really sure because it was a season that we were consistently up there. We obviously went in pre-season and. There was rumours of investment coming in and this, that and the other, but we didn't know that Sven-Goran Eriksson and all that business were going to turn up that season, and which wasn't really investment because it turned out they were flat broke. It was
because didn't he end up director of football, Neil?
Yeah, he did. He come in under this group. They were called Munto. It turned out that the business had no money, but Sol Campbell come down for a time. He played.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kasper Schmeichel, we had Lee Hughes, we got Ben Davies, Ricky Ravenhill, a proper, real good group of players. And then we started really well. And probably that first game, even as early as that first game, that we played Bradford, and obviously Bradford bought about 3,000 or 4,000. The home end was packed because of the interest in Sven and what was going on. And I think we beat them 3 or 4-0 on the day, and the stadium and everything was rocking, and it just was. it was just an image that if you can get it right here and you can get this place going in the forward momentum, this, you know, it could be massive. It could be an absolutely massive and a great place to be. And it was, I think everyone had bought into what they wanted to do. You know, it was made clear from the start, promotion was the aim, and anything less would be failure. And we stuck to that for the majority of the season. And like I say, we went on to win the league, I think, comfortably in the end.
Yeah, like you said about few of the players during the squad that season. Obviously young at the time, but your keeper was Kasper Schmeichel. Then you had like Matt Ritchie. How key were those kind of young talent coming through? And did you know sort of potential that they were going to go on and be at the time when you were playing with them?
Yeah, well, I think Kasper had come from Man City. I think that's where Sven knew him from. So obviously he'd come in. Matty Ritchie coming on loan from, I think it was Bournemouth at the time. We had another young lad, Brendan Maloney, on loan from Nottingham Forest at the time. And you put them with the older pros like the likes of Lee Hughes, John Thompson was our skipper, Mike Edwards, great career, another centre half. It was a good mix. And then you had the likes of probably the lads approaching the peak careers like me, Ricky Ravenhill, Ben Davies. Then it was a great mix. And like I said, Charlie done really well putting the squad together, although he didn't last long. The manager, I think that's obviously when Sven came in as director of football, he was always going to bring his own man in, Hans Backer. But again, he didn't last long because this Munto group, it was just a big con, to be honest. And then they left about Christmas time.
That's quite weird, isn't it, Neil, though? You say about, obviously, the different change of managers, obviously the ownership were kind of off the field. That could have quite easily, that season, completely derailed you, completely put you off. And you've seen it with other sides that they have so many managers, they have obviously off-the-field issues and things like that, that it completely just derails their season because they can't concentrate. What was so special about that group that you managed to concentrate so much that you ended up being so successful?
Yeah, I mean, well, it nearly did at times, especially because there was lots of rumours about going into admin. Obviously, when they come out, I think there was a panorama programme on them, basically that were just con men. Yeah. So the club was, I mean, it wasn't a case of us not getting paid. It was the case that the club could have went under. So Ray came in and saved us. He was honest about the financial situation, but it was just a good group. It was a great dressing room, and everyone looks back and people saying, "Oh, you bought that league," but we had about a group of probably 16, 17 players, and that was it. Because obviously the way the club was, we couldn't bring anyone else in. There was just no money. So it was a small group. It was a tight dressing room, but it was a really, really good group. And like I say, these stories kept coming out, and the milkman would be in the local papers that he hadn't been paid, and the butcher, the food he'd not been paid. But you know, I think we just chose to laugh about it. Honestly, instead of getting stressed and panicking and arguing and demanding PFA, we started a job and we decided we were going to see it out. And I think that brought us tightest together. And I think if you look at that after Christmas, when Steve Cockrell come in as manager, I think we lost 1 in 18, and it says about the group as a whole, the collective, that we just decided we were just going to give it all at the end of the season, and if it all blew up in our faces, and it blew up, but it wouldn't be for lack of effort or lack of professionalism, you know, on our terms. Yeah,
what was he like to work under, Steve Cottrell?
He was brilliant. He's probably one of my favourite managers I've had. I thought he was really good. If he's not having you, he'll tell you. If you're doing well for him, you know, he's fantastic. But I really liked him. There's no airs or graces about him. He'll tell you how it is in training, in matches. But he was fantastic, and like I say, I really respect him. If I go into management, he'll certainly be someone I'll take a lot from, because I thought he was top draw, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet you have some great stories from that year, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, we had some nights out, like the likes of Lee Hughes and Luke Rogers, Birmingham lad. It was fun. We'd go out, at the end of the season where we got promoted, we'd go out on a Tuesday, then we won the league and we go out Saturday. It was just a special group, like I say. We go out. A lot of teams go out and have a drink, and there'll be 5 or 6 years there. We'd go out and have a drink, and there'll be 80. It'd be the full squad. You know, it was a proper good group of lads and a great team spirit. And like I say, it's certainly one of my favourite seasons ever, because like some of the stories I just can't tell you on here because
I was about to say, yeah, you haven't told us one specific story. Is that because you can't?
Really, because I've been putting lads in trouble. But some of the scenes that season you'll never see again. But it was fantastic, and like I say, it was a great. I mean, they're all lunatics, but it was a great group of lads. Top draw.
I mean, yeah. Fast forward to kind of January 2011. You ended up being drawn against Manchester City in the fourth round of the FA Cup. I mean, at home, what an occasion! Obviously, the big boys come down. Even goes better for you, doesn't it? You end up scoring the goal to kind of force a replay. Your smile says it all. I mean, talk about build up to that day, and then that kind of euphoria of the feeling of scoring against what time? I mean, they're still spending a crap load of money now, but I mean, they were back then, weren't they? And I mean, that is the beauty of the FA Cup, that kind of game, isn't it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I think, obviously, Roberto Mancini was in charge, and obviously when the draw was made, it was fantastic. And I remember getting to the game, you arrive as you do, and just the sheer amount of staff that they have, they're in the corridors, the stuff, you think, you know, there's more people, they've got more people on the staff than we usually have in the stands on a match day. It was a different level. And then David Silva's there, Edin Dzeko. Like I say, the money was there at that point. They were really they were dashing it out. Gareth Barry, Jerome Boateng. You know, you can go on forever with a list of Micah Richards, the players they had that day. And it wasn't as if they didn't play a weak team that day. I think, obviously, it was a pretty, if you look through the starting 11, it was full strength.
Yeah.
The along the side of one pitch there, their full stand again sold out, and it was bouncing. I just remember getting, you do your warm up and you go in the dressing room and you put your socks on, and you can eat. The atmosphere was the stand was rocking, and it was just, you don't want to be too nervous because you're trying to take it all in, because again at that level I think we're League One at the time. These days don't come around very often, but. No. You know, we had a right go, and like I say, we thoroughly deserved the replay that day. I think anyone who's seen the game, or any Notts County fans, or even Man City fans, will agree. Like I say, I was looking to get the goal. Obviously, we got well turned over in the replay, but you know, it was really unlucky, because if we'd have beat them, I think it'd have been one of the greatest upsets in FA Cup history.
Well, it nearly was, really, wasn't it?
It wasn't far off, and like I say, if you look at the two, because we were struggling in League One at the time. But the whole day and everything, like I said, it's probably the one thing about my career people ask me about the goal against Man City. It's not something I've watched back. I have to be honest, not something I've watched
really.
Back. No, it's just, if we'd have won the game, it might have been different. Like I said, I'm a bit weird. But we drew, so it's not a winning goal. So, I mean, when I finish, I might be finished now. You never know. But when I do finish, it'll probably be something I'll look back on. It'll certainly be something I'll show my son in the future. But it's, like I said, the memories of the day are still pretty vivid, and like I say, it was certainly one for the memory bank, because it was a fantastic day.
I mean, like you say, Neil, it's the fact that you were struggling. Obviously, you were struggling at the time in the league. Was it the case that you probably did so well against City on the day because it was kind of a release, and it was a no lose situation? Is that we're not going for points here, we've got that freedom to play.
Yeah, and because it's on telly, and I think it was on ITV, and there's a big audience, and all your mates watching back home. I think you don't want to get embarrassed on national TV, because you go into that game thinking, oh my God, if they turn up and take us apart here, we could end up getting a doing. We could be 5, 6, 7 down, and it's on terrestrial TV, and you know, everyone's watching, and you know what lads are like. You'll never hear the end of it, and it'll be embarrassing, to be honest. So I think that forces you to raise your game. Obviously, the pitch at the time wasn't in great condition, which obviously slowed them down a bit. And I've been in teams where you go to lower division teams, and it is hard to raise your game. So it was sort of they coming down a bit, us going up a lot, probably 20, 30, 40% of what we usually could give. And it nearly made for a very magical day. And like I say, it was just a shame we couldn't get over the line and beat them. Yeah,
obviously at the back end of that season, you were made club captain. I mean, that must have been kind of a very, very proud moment for yourself to be club captain of that football club.
Yeah, obviously not. Everyone knows the oldest professional football club well, they were the oldest in the league until the end of last season when they got relegated. But
Yeah.
It was. I was looked at Notts County as a big club. I remember going there to watch Middlesbrough when I was younger. So again, it was a proud moment, and like I say, I've never took it lightly when people have given me a man for clubs. It's a special honour, and like I say, it was fun. Again, unexpected because there were some great characters and good leaders in the dressing room. So it was a privilege and an honour for me to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that season you made 53 appearances for the club and you were named as the club's player of the year. I mean, again, that must have been an honour. Were there any other top performers that season for you, in your opinion?
We struggled, so I can't really think about it. I remember the last 3 or 4 months we were in dire relegation trouble, and obviously Martin Allen coming. And I needed a hernia. I was in absolute agony. He wouldn't let me get one. I remember before a game, I thought, there's no way I'm playing today. And this is Martin Allen to a T. He goes, oh, right, I'll take you out and you can have a fitness test. So I was in the tunnel, I put my boots on, I got the ground about 1 o'clock. He shot me a ball. I kicked it back to him. He went run on the spot. I literally started running the spot for 5 seconds. He went, right, you're fit, get in there. And go, absolutely F all wrong with you. So I've got it, and that was it. That was it. He wouldn't let me have it till the end of the season, and we survived. I think Brighton, who won the league, come and we got a point with them last year of the season, and we survived. And like I say, it was by the skin of our teeth that season. So we started badly that season and couldn't really get ourselves going. Like I say, apart from the cups, we had a disappointed season.
I mean, I'm a Gillingham fan, Neil, and I know for a fact how interesting Martin Allen is.
I
bet he was interesting to play under, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's different level. I mean, again, I really liked him, really got along with him. Some of his stuff he does is a bit extreme. I remember he had us playing... we had this thing where, I don't know if he was trying to get team spirit, where I think it was a Thursday or it might have been a Friday. He had us all lined up on the edge of the penalty box. We all had a ball each, and then he'd make 2 people go and stand in the net, and we'd go along the line, and you'd have to smash it at the goal as hard as you could. And the 2 people in the goal weren't allowed to use their hands and had to use the bodies or whatever they could to block it. And I remember come the day after, Stephen Darby and John Harley had concussion. They couldn't play, they couldn't involve them. Off their heads, and they'd been sick or they'd been, I know you shouldn't laugh, but they'd been back, they'd been poorly, they couldn't train. That was just one of his things, one of his team building things that he did. Like I say, some of his stuff's a bit unorthodox, but I really liked him, and again, I really got along with him and respected him for what he did. And like I say, he has different methods, but he always does whatever he does for a reason. Like I said, you might not get it at the time, but he's always doing it for a reason.
Yeah. Eventually, in June 2013, you had your contracts with the club cancelled by mutual consent. So, what discussions took place which led to this at the time?
Well, obviously the way the club was and the uncertainty, I'd gone through a lot of managers, and coming up at the end of that season, Keith Curl had got the sack, which I thought was quite harsh. We were top half of the league within touching distance of the playoffs, and then Chris Kawami had come in, and I wasn't playing as well as I played for the previous 3 years there, and I just thought it was coming to an naturally. I'd had a bit of interest from other League One clubs, and obviously from Blackpool in the Championship, and I had a good relationship with the owners and the chief executive, Jim Rodwell at the time, and just said, look, they were looking to cut the budget at the time, and I was on a fairly decent wage, and I said, look, why, at the end of the day, end of this season, just let's call it a day. I don't want any money, I don't want to pay up, I'll come in, sign a thing. I've got options to do different things, which I think I needed at that time, a new challenge. And obviously they were looking to cut the budget, so it sort of worked for both parties, and we left on really good terms. The day I left at Sam Farms, I took in a load of beers and chatted and wine and all that for all the people in the office, just because again they'd all been really good for me, and I just wanted to say thank you. I'd had 4 good years there, and I didn't want to leave on bad terms, and which I didn't. It just seemed like it was coming to a natural end, and like I say, it was probably a move I thought I had to make to progress myself in my career.
You then moved to Blackpool. I mean, you reunited with a former manager of yours, Paul Ince. Couple that with the fact that at the time they were then a Championship team. Was that a no-brainer?
Yeah, I mean, Sheffield United had come in, Nigel Clough was in charge. obviously they were in League One at the oh no, sorry, it wasn't Nigel Clough. I think it was Davy Weir. They come in anyway, but they were League One at the time. And again, probably financially, I would have been better off going there. But I think I was in my 30s at that point, and the chance to play in the Championship, obviously starting as late as I did, I never thought I'd have. So I thought, I'm going to have to take it. I said to the missus, I said, I'm going to have to do it again, because I thought, from that, I'd have gone from Sunday morning to Championship and played in every division in between. I thought, I'm going to have to do it. I want to test myself at this level. Like I said, I'll never forgive myself if I don't. So it wasn't so much a no-brainer, but for me, it was something I just thought I had to do. I didn't really have a choice in the matter.
I mean, that's a perfect example, Neil, isn't it? At least that footballers not going for the money, because you could have quite easily gone to Sheffield United for more money then, but you didn't. You wanted to better yourself and go and play at a better level. Yeah,
I mean, Sheffield United offered me a longer contract or more money. Blackpool, I think I got there and there was no guarantee. The way it was ran off the Oystons, they only gave me a 3-month deal. But I thought, sorry, I'm going to go and try. I'll back myself. I'll just get my head down. I'll graft. I'll give it everything, and I'll see what comes of it. And if it doesn't come, I'm sure I'll be able to pick up a club, or hopefully I'll be able to pick up a club League One, if not League Two. But again, we took the risk. It was a risk because I just had a child, just had my boy. He was only 6-7 months old. But like I say, I just had to give it a go. I knew I'd regret it if I didn't. And like I say, I went on to get. I only missed 5 or 6 league games that season. I played the majority of the season, and from in my perspective, done okay. We started the season, and I think it's the best ever start to a season Blackpool's had. Well, it was at the time in any level. So that was, and then obviously, again, with the Oystons and the manager and certain things going on behind the scenes, we fell away. I think January, he sent a lot of the loan players back who were playing for us week in, week out and done really well for us. They all went back, and he just cut the budget. Ince obviously went, Barry Ferguson come in charge. And then it was a struggle. And again, then it was about survival, but ultimately we survived. So again, it was something I look back on, and I'm proud I actually took a gamble and had a go.
I mean, yeah, like you just said, it was quite a strange beginning to that season, actually. I mean, you scored your first goal against Bournemouth in the September of that year, and it was a really great beginning. Like you said, the best ever start to a season that Blackpool had. But then there was sort of a bit of a string of defeats, and things started to fall away a bit. I mean, what was the atmosphere and the morale in the dressing room like at the time? I mean, that must have been such a strange feeling.
Yeah, I mean, the start was fantastic because we were back to struggle from the start. Obviously, pre-season was a bit chaotic. Everyone knows what happened under the Oystons. Getting players in was an absolute nightmare. But the gaffer managed to get a squad together with a couple of good loan signings. And we started really well. Again, good team spirit. We had people like Ricardo Fuller, Barry Ferguson, Kirk Broadfoot, Matt Jones. Great leaders, played in the Premier League, played Scottish Premier League, played for the countries. Good leaders in the dressing room. I mean, we had a good team. You go through this: Chris Basham, Premier League; Craig Cathcart, Premier League. Now we walked through. We had a really Jack Robinson, obviously Championship. A lot of games in the Championship. Started at Liverpool. We had a really, really good. Probably 13 or 14 players, but like I say, 1 or 2 injuries. I remember there's probably the start of the bad run. We went to Yeovil midweek and got beat 2-1 or 3-2, and we had 2 or 3 players sent off that night. And like I say, with a squad that small and how intense and demanding the Championship it is, once we lost 1 or 2, we didn't have the replacements, and that's when we started hitting the skids a bit. But morale in the dressing room, it was hard. Don't get me wrong, it was hard. But we had some good leaders in there, and people who kept us going through the bad times.
I mean, yeah, you eventually finished the season in 20th place after Ince was sacked. How would you reflect on the team's performance that season as a whole?
Well, once I remember we beat Sheffield Wednesday at home, probably sometime before Christmas, which took us up to 2nd or 3rd, and we thought, Christ, if we get to January here and we get some in, we'll have a right good go. We'll be ranked out for the playoffs, but the turn of the half season gone, turn of the year, we're right in the mix. But after that, I think ultimately it just slid away from us. And as you see, once you're in these ruts and these things, it's only going one way. I think. Yeah. The conflict with Ince and the chairman about Tom. I think a bid come in January. Yeah. Big bid. I think obviously the chairman wanted him to go, and because he only had 3 or 4 months left on his contract, and that created a bit of friction, and ultimately it was just a matter of time before the gaffer went, which was a shame. Again, a gaffer I really respected. Obviously, his playing career speaks for itself. When he tells you after he's a man of that stature, he's a manager and a person out of with Walsall. And then obviously the chairman, being the chairman, wouldn't bring anyone else in. He wouldn't waste his money. Well, not waste his money. He just doesn't like spending his money, and he's quite stubborn. And he gave obviously Barry the job, who was a novice, and he'd done his best. And again, that season after that, it was just about surviving, which again we did just about. But if you look at the whole season as a picture and what we had and what happened, it was an achievement actually to finish 20th and not get relegated when you factor in all the other stuff that was going on.
Yeah, I mean, I moved to Scunthorpe for you. I mean, we'll get onto it in a little bit, but obviously this will turn out to kind of be the second club that you end up playing like most of your games for. What was it about Scunthorpe that attracted you to the football club?
Well, they just got promoted from League Two the season before. Obviously, at Blackpool, the way it ended, I think in the summer they only they released everyone, and I was one of about 5 or 6 they actually were going to offer a contract to. But you sort of knew what was coming with Blackpool that season. It was you were never really going to be in with a fighter's chance, a swinger's chance. You knew what was coming. So, it was hard, but again, I thought it was a decision I had to make. You knew Blackpool were going to struggle. The finished second bottom that season would have been an achievement for them, the way it was going. The budget was getting cut. The only hard part was obviously you worked that hard and for years, and you created to get up that championship just to decide you're going to go back to League One. But Scunthorpe were coming up with big ideas. Big new ground on the horizon, big budget that just got promoted from League Two. Chairman was ambitious. It was an ambitious club, and again, they didn't plan on or didn't want to be hanging around in League One really that much. Obviously, things don't work out as well, but I was impressed by the professionalism and how they want to go about things. So again, it was a good contract offer, and probably again the decision was really made for me. I couldn't really turn it down. Obviously,
while you were at the club, you worked under Graham Alexander, young at the time when he was at Scunthorpe. What was Graham like to work under?
Really good, really good. Again, I'm not to repeat myself. There's not many managers I haven't got along with, to be honest. But he's very intense. He's very professional. You can have a laugh and a joke around the place, but when you're on the training ground, he likes it done properly and to a certain level, to a certain intensity. And again, he's definitely one I'll take a lot from going into coaching, my coaching career, because I thought him and Chris Laketti, his assistant, they were a great partnership, and who's at Salford now, well, they both are, and I'm sure they'll have great success there because, like I said, they are really, they work really well together, and like I say, Graham's standards and how he wants things done is very intense. They don't drop, day to day. He's on it every day, and like I say, he's someone I respect a lot.
Yeah, during this time under Alexander, he made quite a late push for the playoffs in League One in 2016. You missed out to Barnsley on goal difference alone. I remember at the time Barnsley were a real force. They had a real late surge during that season as well. What was that like to process and play through, obviously missing out that narrowly at the time?
Yeah, it was hard. It went down the last day of the season, and it was. I think we're level on points, but their goal difference was vastly superior. But they were going to Wigan, who won the league, so we're thinking, and we were going to Sheffield United at the time, who were in a bit of mediocrity in the middle of the league, had nothing to play for. We won at Sheffield United, but unfortunately Barnsley beat Wigan, which we felt a bit disappointed at because Wigan had got promoted, won the league, but they put out quite a weakened team that day, which sort of left a bit of a bitter taste, especially with Barnsley. There was obviously a lot riding on that game, and Barnsley had come strong, but so had we. I think if you look since Alexander took over, we had one hell of a run and really pushed ourselves up into the reckoning. So to miss out like that is disappointing, but it's just one of them things. But like I said, it was disappointing because we thought if we could have nicked a playoff place, the momentum we had would have maybe pushed us all the way.
Yeah, moving on to the end of 2016 as well, you beat Millwall 3-0 in the December of that year, and it actually marks a whole year unbeaten at home. That's not only quite the achievement, but What was it about the team at the time and also the stadium itself that allowed this to happen?
I think the team had been put together very well. Again, if you go through that team, there's a lot of players playing now in the Championship. And like you say, every time I played against Scunthorpe, it was just a place I never enjoyed playing. It's a small, compact ground. The supporters can give you a bit of joy. It was just one of the places that you never really enjoyed playing as an away team. And I think the way we played, the intensity we were playing at, the pitch is quite narrow. We were in people's faces. And we had some really good footballers, and I think that combination, like I say, a lot of teams, when you speak to players all the time, a lot of players hated coming to players at our place because, like I say, we had a good combination of good footballers and people who enjoyed ratting and enjoyed going and getting the ball back and making life uncomfortable for the opposition. You marry that in with the narrowness of the pitch and the supporters and the ground. It was just not a nice place for people to come. And like I say, we more than... We certainly optimised that situation in our favour.
Yeah, I mean, and then that year you actually went one better than the previous year and actually reached the League One playoffs. You eventually lost to Millwall, but sort of sum up as more of an experienced player in comparison to when you reached the playoffs of York. What was your role in the squad like as a more experienced player as opposed to York when you went through the playoffs?
Yeah, we went down to Millwall and drew 0-0 in the first leg, and obviously a fairly decent result, and we even took the lead in the second leg. But there was a lot of good pros in that dressing room. So again, I wasn't really having to speak to people about the situation. It was Grezza had been the manager had been involved in the playoffs at Fleetwood. I think he got promoted with Fleetwood, so it was more. And I think he was more leading that because I think that experience with York was so long ago. Or it seemed so long ago at the time. I don't suppose it was really relevant to in there. But again, ultimately disappointments. We never got to Wembley, and I think we threw it away that day. The home leg, like I say, we even took the lead, and we had a mad 5-10 minutes either side of half time, which ultimately cost us.
I mean, yeah, the following year, you make the playoffs again. Quite a weird one here. It was that Graham was obviously sacked in March, but you were fifth in the league at the time when he was sacked, which is quite bizarre. And I think it was Nick Dawes and Andy Dawson that eventually took you kind of into the playoffs, being kind of caretakers at the time. Was that kind of a weird campaign that obviously a manager being sacked but doing well?
Yeah, I mean we were on a bad run of form. Don't get me wrong, but if you looked at our league position, we were probably comfortably in the playoffs. I suppose you've got to look around you, and you look around it. There wasn't really anyone who was going to catch us. We weren't probably good enough that season or close enough to get into the top two.
Yeah. So
we're always going to finish in the playoffs anyway. So it was a strange decision. Like I say, I think the way we would have turned it around eventually, we wouldn't have dropped outside the playoffs if they kept Alexander in charge, and we wouldn't have gotten into the top two because we just weren't close enough that year. It was always going to be a playoff place at that time when he got the sack. So it was a strange decision. I think one that's obviously proved to be a terrible decision when you look at where Scunthorpe are now and what happened at the end of that season. They got relegated the following season and bottom half of League Two now. So I mean, look. People are paid to make decisions and will live and die by them. But at the time, it did seem very strange to not just me, but a lot of that dressing room couldn't really understand the decision making.
Yeah, I mean, kind of going into those playoffs, obviously not having Graham around, but still having the caretakers around, coaches that you've kind of been around. Was it a sense of going into the playoffs? Did you believe that you were going to go and do it, or was it a case that it was such a weird feeling around the club for the rest of the season that you kind of thought, yeah, we're in the playoffs here, but we're not too sure?
Yeah, well, I think we played Rotherham twice that season, and they beat us. And I played both games, and I have to say they probably beat us comfortably, to be honest.
Yeah.
But you thought these have got our number a bit. And we drew the. I was on the bench for both playoff legs. I didn't really get along with Nick Dawes as a manager. I wasn't really having him. Don't get me wrong, as a person, no problems. But as a manager, I thought that the chairman and a few people were pulling strings behind the scenes in terms of team selection and what was going on. And I just thought we had to do something different. Like I say, because the beat us, if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. And they beat us twice, and we drew 2-2 at home. But then going there, I thought, obviously, it's on a knife edge, and we played a very attacking team. Actually, we didn't. I thought if we could have went there and kept it quiet for 60, 70 minutes, the home fans were nervous anyway. You go and nick a goal because we had some great attacking players. But yeah. I thought we could have maybe been a bit more clever in what we did that second leg, and I thought Rotherham had our number that season. And ultimately, I think they beat us 2-0, and again, probably deserved the victory that night.
I mean, yeah. I mean, just before we get on to Mansfield, obviously your last club, Neal, Scunthorpe, like I said earlier, was the second club that you spent most of your career at. Obviously, having 2 playoff campaigns, nearly kind of 200 games for the football club. How do you sum your time up at Scunthorpe?
I enjoyed it. Look, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it all. We were at the top end of League One for the majority of it. Fantastic. Obviously, I left and probably still have massive regrets that we never got the championship, because if you look at that team, the likes of Ivan Toney, Josh Morris, Murray Wallace, Connor Townsend in the championship, Luke Daniels in the championship, the goalkeeper of Brentford, Paddy Madden. It was a top class team for that level. A team that probably should have achieved promotion. So that's a big regret, like I say, because some of the names you've just reeled off there, top players in league would be top players in league, that any League One club would want. And like I say, a lot of them now play in the championship. So there is a regret there, but it's a club I really enjoyed at, and like I say, I've been back there to watch games ever since. Like I say, because I did enjoy my time at the club, and one, like I said, I'll always have fond memories of.
Yeah, obviously you joined Mansfield in 2018 under David Flitcroft. How did the move come about, and why Mansfield?
Well, again, I knew I was leaving Scunthorpe that summer. Obviously, just at the end of the contract. Obviously, Nick Dawes been given the job permanently. He wasn't someone I ever really got along with or could see myself playing under. So I knew I was going to be leaving. I had a couple of decent offers: Mansfield, Lincoln, but the chairman and David sort of sold it to me. Obviously, at my age, it was going to be a 2-year deal, which probably clinched it, to be honest. Obviously, I spoke to Lincoln, Danny Cowley, again, someone I really enjoyed speaking to, would have loved to work under. Wish I'd have probably got the chance to work under him when I was younger, to be honest, because the way he come across, the way he wanted to do things was brilliant. You can see where he's got in his career. He'll have success. And it was probably, I went for it the first time. I'd gone for a bit more security at my age, 2-year deal, and speaking to the chairman, there was a potential of a coaching role or something for me when I eventually finished playing. So that's probably what swayed it for me. But like I say, David Flitcroft. He was the same. He was passionate. He was enthusiastic about what he wanted to do, and it was all about. It was at that time I didn't really have the time to go to. I had some League One clubs, but there were clubs who would be looking to finish mid-table at best, and obviously at my age, I didn't really have time for a long-term project. It was going to be, right, we want to get promoted, or we want to do something this season, and obviously Lincoln and Mansfield were the main ones. Yeah,
like you said about getting promoted, that was the ambition of the football club. Mansfield very, very, very nearly did it in terms of your first season. Made the playoffs again. Unfortunately, I mean, I watched on Sky, and a crazy game. Obviously, it went to penalties, just kind of the second leg against Newport at Mansfield's place, obviously. I mean, sum up that season, was the foundations in place, and was that football club ready to go?
Yeah, it was. It is. There's a new training ground, which is probably championship standard. The owners have invested heavily. How we never finished in the top 3 that season, I'll never know. The last probably 4 to 6 weeks, we absolutely collapsed. I don't know what it was. We couldn't seem to get a result. Obviously, I tweaked my calf in the first leg of the playoff, and like you said, that second game we could have been 4-0 down at half time. Newport missed so many chances. Second half, we've probably missed the majority of chances. In an extra time, I think we've had one clear off the line, and like I say, a crazy game. I would end up the Scottish. It could have been 5-5. It was insane. And then penalties are a lottery, and like I say, the only one who missed one is obviously Tyler Walker, who never missed a thing all season really. So it was again. I think that's 4 or 5 times I've been involved in the playoffs in my career and not got to win.
I bet you're sick of the sight of them, aren't you?
I know. You might as well put me on gardening leave if my record in them. Like I said, never not to get to Wembley. It's just I don't know. It's a massive. I can laugh about it, but it's a massive regret.
Yeah.
I'll probably look back on in the future and wonder how I've not had more promotions. But look, it is what it is. I can't be greedy. I've had a great career. That season it was just again loved it, absolutely loved it. Great dressing room, but not to get over the line was criminal probably at the end.
Yeah, obviously it's been a bit of a weird season. This season, obviously with the COVID hitting kind of 8% of the way through. At the time, obviously, his season ended. Mansfield were 21st in League Two. What's obviously going from that playoff campaign last season and doing very, very well to this season to being near the bottom. What's happened kind of there for that to happen?
Yeah, I think we got a rookie manager, a bloke who done really well at the youth team setup, but was untested at the senior level. And then I think it was a massive hangover. I think it was a massive disappointment still around the players from how last season ended, because obviously to miss out on the thing, then they get beat in the playoffs, then they get beat on penalties. It was just kicking the teeth after kicking the teeth at the end of that season. And I think maybe some people would maybe come to the end being at Mansfield, and obviously they'd suffered disappointment the season before. Maybe, we could have refreshed the dressing room a bit. This is personally, obviously, hindsight's 2020, but maybe we could have got a few more players through the door. Like I said, I think the dressing room was scarred about what had happened in the previous couple of seasons. And we never really shook it off. And as a group, we were probably lethargic. And again, I've spoken about before, once you start bad, it is hard to shake it off. And people are just people are thinking that, well, that's our opportunity to go on promotion. We're not going to achieve anything. And we sort of just stumbled into a position where we were struggling every week. And like I say, we'd only just started to shake it off really in the final 5 or 6 games before obviously we got the league got cancelled. So to not have the chance to finish the season is disappointing, obviously. But yeah, it's the whole season from start to finish is one real disappointment actually, because we never really got going at any point of it.
Yeah, and then looking towards the future as well now, once you eventually do decide to hang up your boots, where would you like to see your career go? What path would you like to take?
I've been doing my coaching badges. I'm due to finish my A licence this summer, which will be me done with the badges. So it's the limited coaching I've done. I've really enjoyed. It's something I can see myself going into, especially with my background of dropping out of an academy. From playing in the championship to Sunday morning and every step in between, I've got an experience of just about everything, to be honest, and it's stuff I want to pass on. It's something I passionately, I think I can make a difference. It's not something I just fall into to have a job just to pick up a wage. I think if you're going to go into coaching, you've got to want to do it. You've got to be passionate about improving and helping people, and it's something I see myself doing. Maybe now, maybe somewhere down the line, like I say, I've got decisions to make about what I'm going to do, playing wise or coaching. But it's definitely a path I'm going to explore.
I mean, yeah, like you said, Neil, you have played at kind of every level, bar the Prem. But you played with some fantastic players, like we do with every guest. We kind of ask their best six-a-side team with the players that they play with. I'm sure you've played with a lot of good players throughout your career, so this is going to be tough for you. But come on, yeah, give us your best six-a-side team.
Right, well, I'll have to go with Kasper Schmeichel in goal. Obviously, his career, he's had captain of Denmark. He's got to be in there. I'll have to put Sol Campbell in there. I know it was for one game, and he had a nightmare at Morecambe when he played. But how can you leave him out?
Yeah,
the career he's had. I'll go Barry Ferguson. obviously captained his country, captain Blackpool, probably one of the best pros. I mean, he moans at you every time, but his standards are so high. He's again, fantastic off him. What have I put in there? 3.
Three more.
Who else will I go for? Ricardo Fuller, I'll put him in there. Obviously,
yeah.
The strikers, obviously, again, played at the top level. What a player! What again? Another one who, on the training ground. If you weren't up to standard, he's in your back every minute. I need another defender, don't I? I'll probably Craig Cathcart. I'll put him again. International and playing in the Premier League.
Yeah.
It all gets overlooked, but a great career and again, just another natural leader. So what have we got there? 5.
Yeah, one more.
One more. I'll go another one up front. Probably Lee Hughes. I know I played with him at Notts County at the back end of his career, but probably the most natural goal scorer I've played with. He just seemed to just not stop, but everything just relax every time in front of goal, even in training. He didn't do a lot else in training, to be honest, Hughesy, but he just stand. But every time the ball coming to him, he used to end up in the net. And like I say, probably the most natural goal scorer I've played with in my career.
There we go. What a career Neal has had. He's obviously, like he's just said and like he's explained for the past hour, he's played at every single level, obviously by the Prem. But what a career he's had. What some great players he's played with and some great clubs. Neal, we wish you obviously all the best with your coaching career. And thank you ever so much for coming on. You've been watching Inside the Changing Room. Thank you for watching. Keep liking, subscribing, and keep watching the channel. We've got plenty more guests coming on. You've been watching Inside the Changing Room.